Some mountains are tall, some are treacherous, but some are alive. Deep in the southern spine of Korea lies a mountain they call Jirasan, a place of deep forests, twisting fog, and eyes that watch from the shadows. This is the story of a hunter who challenged the guardian of that mountain, and of what the mountain gave him in return. Jirasan is not a peak, it is a world. Its flanks stretch like sleeping giants beneath the sky, wrapped in forests so dense the sun rarely reaches the ground. Pines and oaks, tangled with vines and mist, fill its heart. The rivers sing in low murmurs, as if speaking to one another in a tongue older than men. The villagers who live in its shadow do not speak of it casually. Children are told to bow when entering its trails. Hunters pour rice wine at the foot of the trees before picking up their bows. And when elders speak of strange dreams or missing animals, their voices drop to whispers, as if the mountain itself is listening. Because it is. They say Jirasan remembers every trespass, every offering, every drop of blood spilled beneath its branches, and at the heart of its memory walks the tiger. Yoon Seok had never bowed to trees. He was a man of blood and bone, not wind and whisper. A hunter by trade, a soldier by history, raised on hardship, tempered by war, and sharpened by hunger. He lived alone, near the edge of the forest, a cottage of cracked tiles and soot-black walls. Inside hung trophies from a lifetime of kills, a boar's tusks, a wolf's pelt, a snarling bear's skull nailed just above the hearth. But one wall was bare, and for years, he knew what he wanted to hang there. The tiger. Not just any tiger, the tiger. The one from the stories, the one with golden eyes that had outlived empires, the one no man had ever caught, the one that left only bones and rumors. It was the last thing left to conquer. When news came that a goat had been taken from a village on the western ridge, no blood, just prints as wide as a bowl. Yoon Seok didn't hesitate. He cleaned his musket, sharpened his knife, packed 3 days' rice, a tinderbox, and a flask of plum wine. Then he stepped into the trees, without bowing. The forest swallowed him whole. At first it was quiet in the way all forests are. Birds chirping in the canopy, the soft rustle of leaves beneath his boots. But after an hour's walk, something changed. The sounds didn't fade. They stopped. No birds, no squirrels, not even the wind. Just the crunch of his own footsteps and the slow beat of his breath. The trees grew stranger here, bent, not broken, like they had been shaped, not grown. Moss covered everything, the ground, the trunks, even the rocks. He passed a small clearing where the grass grew in perfect spirals. Near it, he found bones, not buried, just lying in the open, polished clean, too clean. He knelt, examined them. Goat, maybe. But the ribs were crushed, not chewed, a powerful bite, deliberate, not for hunger, for message. Yoon Seok stood, brushing dirt from his palms. He'd seen worse. By late afternoon, the fog rolled in. Not the kind that drifts down from mountains, light and chill. This was thicker, almost warm. It clung to his arms, beaded on his lashes. He set up camp under a sloped rock shelf and lit a fire. The flames hissed, reluctant, The smoke rose, then curved, not upward, but sideways, like something was drawing it in. He chewed his rice dry, drank from his flask, stared into the trees. That's when he heard it. Not a growl, not a howl. His name. Yun Seok. He stood fast, grabbing the musket. Nothing. He turned in a slow circle. The fog moved, but the forest did not. Again, softly, like wind sliding over a drum skin. Yun Seok. He shouted, "Who's there?" But his voice felt small, like it had already been swallowed. A branch cracked in the distance. A thud, like something massive had landed softly on the earth. He didn't sleep that night, only sat by the fire, musket in his lap, eyes wide. At dawn, the fog lifted, but only barely. Shafts of cold light pierced between the tree trunks like spears of silver, and the forest shimmered with dew. Yun Seok's eyes were tired, but sharp. His hands cold, but steady. That's when he saw them. Footprints, massive. Each print was wide enough to cradle both his hands side by side. 4 toe marks, deep claws. The earth wasn't just pressed, it was scorched, as if something had left behind not just weight, but heat. He crouched beside them. Fresh, no time to hesitate. He followed. The prints led him up a steep ravine, thick with brambles. He bled from the thorns, but ignored it. The air grew colder with every step. Even the trees began to change. Bark peeling in strange spiral patterns, leaves unusually large, as if the mountain here grew differently. Then he stopped. There, across a shallow creek veiled in mist, it stood. The tiger. It was enormous, larger than any beast he had ever hunted, easily the size of a bull, yet moving with a silence that made the earth itself seem afraid to breathe. Its fur was a rich amber, patterned with black stripes so deep they seemed etched into its skin. Muscles rippled with each step as it padded forward, then stopped. Its head turned toward him, and the eyes, not yellow, not wild, but deep gold, like sunlight trapped in honey, and intelligent. As if it wasn't seeing him, it was reading him. For the first time in his life, Yun Seok hesitated to raise his weapon. He blinked, and the tiger was gone. Not running, not pouncing, just vanished, like mist returning to the sky. That night, Yun Seok didn't even attempt to sleep. But exhaustion is cruel, and sometime between the 2nd and 3rd hour past midnight, his head dropped. He dreamed. He was walking through a forest made of flame. The trees burned but did not fall. Leaves glowed with embers, and the sky above was blood red. From the fire stepped the tiger, larger than ever, walking beside him without sound. Around them were shapes, not quite people, not quite animals, their faces obscured, their voices muffled. They wept, and their tears turned to smoke. Then the tiger spoke, not with a mouth, but with the world itself. You take what you do not understand. You wound what you do not respect. You kill what watches over you. And still, you ask why the forest grows silent. Yun-seok fell to his knees in the dream. His skin burned, his lips cracked, but he could not cry. "Leave," the voice said, "before your name becomes dust." He woke gasping, soaked in sweat, mouth dry, his fire nothing but ash, and his musket was gone. He searched for hours, no sign of it, no drag marks, no broken branches. It was simply no longer there. But it wasn't just the musket. His traps were gone too. Every single one he had laid in the past 2 days. Disappeared without trace, as if the forest had never allowed them in the first place. The deeper he walked, the more wrong everything felt. There was no sound, no animals, not even insects. The only noise was the crunch of leaves under his feet and the blood in his ears. He saw strange things now. A grove of trees that bent toward the center as if bowing. A single skull resting on a rock, perfectly clean. A thin stream running backward uphill, flowing in reverse. Then came the arch. 2 trees, twisted together at the trunks, woven like rope, formed a natural gateway. Beyond them, the air changed. He passed through. And he entered the forest's heart. There, in a clearing ringed by stones blackened with age, stood a shrine. Not grand, not beautiful, but ancient. At its center was a stone carving, crude, but unmistakable. A tiger's head, mouth closed, eyes narrowed. Offerings lay before it. Feathers, bones, shattered arrowheads, dried flowers, and a wooden mask shaped like a man's face split down the middle. The trees around the clearing leaned inward. The earth felt warm. Behind the shrine, carved into a rock face, were figures, simple, stylized. A man kneeling. A tiger standing above him, one paw resting on his bowed head. And above it, an inscription in old script. The beast sees through pride. Only those who kneel may stand again. Yun-seok felt the weight of the place press against his ribs. He looked around. No wind, no birds. Only that silent, ancient gaze from the stone tiger. He left the shrine without taking anything, but the eyes followed him. By now, Yun-seok had stopped counting the days. His face was sunken, his lips cracked, his food nearly gone. His knife remained, but he never drew it. There was no more hunger, no ambition. Only a gnawing pressure in his chest, like the mountain itself had reached inside and wrapped itself around his lungs. He spoke aloud, not to pray, but to remember the sound of his own voice. "I came here to kill a beast," he muttered, sitting beneath a crooked tree. "To prove something." Silence answered him. He laughed bitterly, then stopped. Even laughter felt like blasphemy here. That night, he dreamed again, but not of fire. He dreamed of a child, a boy no older than 6, sitting beside a tiger, stroking its fur, giggling as if it were a puppy. The tiger lay still, calm, almost smiling. And Yun-seok watched from the shadows, unable to step forward. When he awoke, he wept. On the final morning, Yun-seok awoke before the sun. His body ached, His legs felt heavy. He had not eaten in 2 days, and yet he felt strangely full, not with food, but with silence. He walked aimlessly, following no trail. The forest seemed to guide him now, trees parting subtly before him, roots curling aside. Then, in a high glade choked with silver mist, he stopped. The air was still. A ridge of stones curved into a crescent around the clearing. The trees leaned outward now as if making space. And there, at the far edge, it stood. The tiger. It was even larger now. Or perhaps he was simply smaller. Its fur shimmered like dusk light on wet leaves. Its breath misted in the cold. Its tail curled slowly, not in threat, but in awareness. It didn't pounce. It didn't roar. It watched. And Yun-seok fell to his knees. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His head bowed, hands open, his body surrendered. Not from fear, but from understanding. He had not come to kill the tiger. He had come to be unmade. The tiger stepped forward, each movement silent, fluid, absolute. It came close. So close he could feel the heat of its body, smell the wildness in its fur. Then gently, it lowered its massive head and touched its brow to his. The world disappeared. There was no forest now, no time, no body, only light, soft, pulsing, alive. Yun-seok floated in a space that was not space, surrounded by memory not his own. He saw tigers walking beneath stars long extinguished. He saw the first humans kneel in reverence at fire-lit caves while tigers watched from the trees. He saw mountains rise and empires crumble. He saw himself, as a boy, holding his father's knife, as a soldier soaked in blood, as a man always hungry, always taking. He saw the trees he'd cut, the deer he'd hunted not for need, but for pride. He saw animals slipping quietly out of the world, one by one. He saw the tiger, always watching, always remembering. And then he heard the voice again. Not words, something older. But somehow he understood. Your name is a sound spoken by breath. But the forest does not speak in breath. It speaks in memory. And now, it remembers you. Yun-seok awoke on the forest's edge. He was lying on a bed of soft moss. His hands were clean, his face dry. The sun was rising, gold and silent through the trees. His knife was by his side, his rifle still missing. He rose slowly. His body ached, but he did not resist it. When he stepped out of the forest and onto the dirt path near the village, the farmers harvesting rice paused in surprise. They had not expected him to return, certainly not walking slowly, certainly not smiling. He didn't speak to them, not yet. He walked home. In the days that followed, Yun-seok changed. He no longer hunted. He dismantled his traps, burned his snares, buried his musket. He visited the village shrine once a week. He planted trees near the riverbank. He repaired the broken footbridge even though no one asked. He never told anyone what he saw. Only once, when a boy from the village asked him, "Is it true you saw the tiger?" did he pause. And then he said, "Yes, but it wasn't a tiger. It was the mountain remembering, and it showed me who I was before I forgot." Yun Seok lived quietly for many years. He grew old, his back bent, his hands shook, but his eyes, they remained bright, like he still saw something others didn't. When he passed, the villagers buried him at the edge of the forest, facing Jirasan. And over time, stories returned, of eyes in the dark, of trails that vanished, of trees that whispered, of a tiger, impossibly large, always watching, that walked silently among the mists of the high ridge. Some said it was a guardian, some said it was a spirit, and some quietly, in the warmth of their homes, said, "Perhaps it was him." There are places in this world that do not belong to us. They are not ours to conquer, or name, or own. Jirasan was not a mountain you climbed. It was a truth you bowed to. And sometimes, when the wind is still, it whispers the name of a hunter who finally remembered who he was. If stories like this stir something in you, a quiet breath, a sense of wonder, then follow the trail. Like, share, and subscribe, and let the next tale find you.